to this Divine Partnership Coaching video. This is going to be Path of the Emperor, Step 7. And 7s, typically, numerologically speaking, are associated with wisdom, protecting the things that matter, and reflection, pauses, moments of introspection, and observance of the things that are around you. Now, in this step, dear Emperors, the wisest thing that I can think to offer to you in this first cycle is to embrace your vulnerabilities, to really step back and recognize that you are, at least not yet, invincible. You have vulnerabilities, you have emotions, you, in fact, have probably been showing all of your weaknesses like a really bad poker player in your attempt to pretend like you don't have any weaknesses. And that's what pride tends to do. I'm going to say pride in reverse, as if it was a card, when you try to pretend like you don't need anybody's help, or you don't want anyone to help make it easier, or that you're never upset about anything, or that you're always grateful and happy and peppy, and that you tell everybody that your life is rainbows and roses. You're human. We're all human. And we have to recognize that a part of being human is having vulnerabilities, is having emotions, and having desires and fears and dreams, and being imperfect, being perfectly perfect. We are art. We are spirit art, It is our imperfections, flaws, that really the perfections stand out. And really, you have to get to a state where you are open to influence. Yes, you want to know what your core values are. That's part of why the steps priest is about discovering your truth and standing in your truth. But the next step is to learning a little flexibility, to be honest. But it's about opening yourself up to wisdom. 7 is also a number. It's a divine number. It's a number of spirit. It's a number of magic. And in order to get there, before you can take the next step to applying wisdoms, is to recognize that true strength, something you've been really proud of, is an ability to be vulnerable and to be vulnerable with most anybody, and to recognize that anybody that has something negative to say about your vulnerabilities, that's about them, not about you. It's about getting to the place to where you're learning to become authentic. You're learning to be courageous enough to try, and you're recognizing that you are not Mr. Perfect yet. I mean, you are, because you're imperfect, but you're not supposed to be perfect. And if you already know your divine feminine, she already knows that you are wonderful as is, and that yes, you got things to work on, because a true divine partner recognizes that we're human beings, and that we're, even though we are good as is, that we need, as human beings, stimulation and growth and evolution. And so, yeah, your divine partner is going to call you on your shit, whereas karmic partners, either, they're not likely to until they've bottled everything up and they get passive-aggressive about it. And even if you haven't met your divine partner, your divine feminine, there are still probably plenty of people in your life who give you the kind of feedback from spirit that you need in order to prepare to do your self-work, your shadow work, and become the kind of person that is in alignment with being a divine masculine, that can match up with the kind of feminines that you deserve to be with, who have healthy standards, that aren't too high or too low, who are fun, who are easy to be with, who support you, and who see the beautiful being that you are, even when you're being a total jackass. And you deserve that. And the only thing keeping you back from having that is a level of inflexibility. It's what I call the emperor reverse. And so right now, if you're coming across this video, it is time for you to start embracing the absurd, that you are vulnerable. You have vulnerabilities. And show them, whether it's being honest about, especially with any karmics or third-party situations, honest about your feelings about them, about if you know your divine feminine, about them, or if you feel a calling to find your divine feminine if you've not met them, or being accountable for getting yourself into messes with karmics because you are afraid and worried about insecurities and things like that, and really owning that. Or it could be, like, maybe you're the, embracing your inner being, your inner child, really, because that doesn't disappear when we grow up. We just repress it, and that really creates a toxicity within us. So maybe you like to play with Legos. Maybe you enjoy video games. Maybe you like stuffies. Maybe you like to go build forts in the woods, or maybe you like blanket forts in the house. Or maybe you just like quiet. Maybe you like things clean because your childhood was full of mess, or your adulthood was full of mess, and you own that that's your own neuroses, but you want that, you need that, and that's kind of a vulnerability to admit to. Or maybe it's crying, maybe it's being angry with people, because when we in people pleasing and codependent energies, we don't often express healthy anger in the moment it occurs. We often do it passive aggressively, or we hold it in, repress it, and bottle it up, and then blow up, and it's super toxic, and it doesn't get us anywhere, and it makes us look and feel like a jackass. So being able to give yourself permission to be angry could be your vulnerability. Or it could be admitting to a friend that you made things seem like it was all rainbows and roses when it wasn't. It could be admitting to somebody who tried to help you that you blew off, or told to not help you, that actually you did need help and you appreciate that they saw it. Or it could be learning something as simple as when somebody says, "How are you feeling?" or "How are you doing?" rather than saying, "Fine," or "I'm good." You say, "I'm a little stressed, but I got it. I can handle it. Or asking something as simple as for somebody to wish you luck, or sharing with them that you do have struggles going on. It could be a whole number of things. And once you learn to embrace that you have a vulnerable side, that you are you're as much feminine as masculine, and maybe this is the point in time too where you start going through the path of the Empress, because you're going to have your Freaky Friday switch too. But it felt like this was more on the path of the Emperor, because typically as Empresses we're used to being vulnerable whether we like it or not. And typically women and feminines are already presumed to be vulnerable, so you get the whole damsel in distress thing. So we often actually have to work more with embracing that we can be strong and still feminine at the same time. But as masculines, you often are brought up with the male ego that vulnerabilities are weaknesses, and that you're not a man if you have vulnerabilities, and it's so the opposite of the truth. Real healthy men, healthy masculines, recognize and own that they are human and vulnerabilities. If things hurt their feelings, they have times when they're mad, sad, happy, in need of something. And this is an important step too, because the more that you can own to others in a self-loving way, that you do experience icky emotions, that you do have needs, and you do have desires and fears and things like that, you actually allow yourself to release them and heal from them. And once you heal from them, you don't need them anymore, then the absurdity and the magic begins, because you start to get them. For real this time. So please, dear Emperors, reach out to me if you're having any trouble with this step. It is absolutely worth embracing.